Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Exam Tricks and Tips. This comprehensive series is designed to prepare you for the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. Let's start with the questions. Question number 21. Which AWS service can identify when an Amazon EC2 instance was terminated? Please read the question. If you like, pause the video, identify your keywords. I hope you have gone through the question, identify your keywords. So the key question is we need to know the service which can be used to identify if an EC2 instance was terminated. The first option we have is AWS IAM. Now, IAM securely manages identities and access to the AWS services, but you cannot really use it for identifying if an EC2 instance was terminated. So I think that's a wrong answer. Next up, we have CloudTrail. CloudTrail, the sole purpose of CloudTrail is to track the user activities and API usage. So that appears to be correct answer, but let's go ahead and see what other services are doing. So I'll mark for now this to be as a correct answer. Third one is AWS Compute Optimizer. So Compute Optimizer gives you recommendation to optimize your AWS resources. And it's basically a recommender role. It's not going to help you investigate or identify if an instance was terminated. And the last one we have is AWS Event Bridge. And this is used to build event-driven application at scale across AWS. So again, this doesn't appear to be the right answer to me. So I guess from what we have, B appears to be the most accurate answer. And I will show you AWS documentation which talks about this use case. So here's the documentation from AWS. Essentially, this talks about the use case of tracking API calls for Amazon EC2 instances, and one of the scenario is termination instance as well. So that's the reason why this is the correct answer. Answer B is the correct answer for this question. Question number 21. I have also listed documentation here, and I'll put the links in the description for AWS Compute Optimizer, because this is the first time you come across this service, as well as for Event Bridge. You'll find the links in the docs. You can revise the purpose of the services. So when you see the services in other questions, you'll be able to answer those. So question number 21, answer B, AWS CloudTrail. Let's move to the next question. Question number 22. Which of the following services can be used to block network traffic to an instance? And we need to choose two answers here. Pause the question, highlight your keywords, identify if there is a problem description. I hope you have read through the question and identified the keyword. Essentially, what we need to do is we need to block network traffic to an instance. And what does blocking traffic means? We need a firewall. So let's go through these options and see which option can help us act as a firewall. So the first option we have is security group. Security groups are stateful firewalls, and they control inbound and outbound traffic at an instance level. So this looks like a right answer, and we have to choose two answers in this case. So I'll mark that one as one of the possible answers. The next one is Amazon VPC flow logs. VPC flow logs are cannot do the job of firewall. So according to me, that's an incorrect answer. Network ACLs, this appears to be correct. These, you can use it as stateful firewalls to control inbound and outbound traffic, but this will be used at subnet level. So that's the correct answer, according to me. Third one, CloudWatch. CloudWatch is not a firewall, neither is CloudTrail. So VPC flow logs, CloudWatch, and CloudTrail are not firewalls. VPC flow logs is a feature that enables you to capture information about an IP traffic going to and from network interface in your VPC, but it cannot be used as a firewall. CloudWatch, is used for observing and monitoring resources and applications on your AWS premises and the other clouds. So it's an observation tool, not a firewall. CloudTrail is used to track an activity and API usage on AWS resources. So again, that's not a firewall. Security groups and network ACLs can be used as stateful firewalls that control the inbound and outbound traffic. Security groups and network ACLs can be used as stateful firewalls to control the flow of traffic. So this question number 22, the correct answers are answer A and C. And in fact, I do have a piece of documentation from AWS which talks about usage of security groups and network ACLs for controlling, and you'll find the link in the video description. So this is the first bit around it, and then this particular section talks about how you can use ACLs as firewalls for blocking IPs. All right, that's it. That's question number 22. Let's move to the next question. Question 23. Which AWS service gives users the ability to discover and protect sensitive data that is stored in Amazon S3 buckets? I hope you have read through the question and identified your keywords. So essentially, the problem description or the keyword here is we need to discover and protect the sensitive data. Let's go through the options and see what we have, which one appears to be the correct answer. Amazon Macy. So the purpose of Amazon Macy is to discover and protect sensitive data. It's a security service that uses machine learning and pattern matching to discover the data and then protect the sensitive data. Macy helps you identify and classify sensitive data as well, such as PII information, personally identifiable information, financial data, and intellectual property. It also provides dashboards and alerts that give you visibility into how this data is being accessed or moved. So Amazon Macy appears to be the correct answer, but let's see what other options are there and what do they do. Amazon Detective. So this is used for investigating and responding to security incident, but not really to discover and protect sensitive data. Amazon Guard DUT detects the threats to your AWS account. Again, it does the job of detection, but it won't do the job of protecting the sensitive data. IAM is used to identify and manage access to your resources. Again, it's not for protecting the sensitive data. Now, they are, this one is a tricky question. So all of these services do something around, helping you protect your data, but Amazon Macy is the service which is purpose-built for it. Other services help you in security, but doesn't do the exact job that we have been asked in this question. So the correct answer for this particular question is answer B, Amazon Macy. Let's move to the next question. Question number 24. It's quite a lengthy question. A company has a test AWS environment. A company is planning on testing an application within AWS. The application testing can be interrupted and does not need to run continuously. Which Amazon EC2 purchase option will meet these requirements most cost effectively? All right, you can pause the video, read question yourself, as well as identify keyword, problem description, and highlight it. Hope you've done that. All right, let's see what are the keywords here. So this is a test environment. It's not a production environment. The load is interruptible. Application testing can be stop started. It's not a production environment. And obviously, as the question is specifically asking to most cost effectively, what solution can give us the most cost effective solution. So on-demand instance, it's pretty spot on, but we don't need on-demand instance in this case, because you need on-demand when you have a continuous load, and we don't have a situation where it is continuous. So it is economical as compared to other options like a dedicated instance or reserved instance, but it's not an economical option in the current scenario, because we don't need we don't need continuous load. Dedicated instance, now this is an overkill. There's no need for isolating instances or physical devices, and dedicated instances are much costlier than on demand and spot. So, and there is nowhere in case of dedicated instances or reserved instances, the trigger word is you need a longer commitment, like you need the load to run for minimum of 3 months, 6 months, and if that has been specified, you can talk about it. But there's no such requirement, so that's an incorrect answer for me. Spot instances, so yeah, this looks like the right solution in this scenario. Spot instances are very cost effective. They are even cheaper than definitely dedicated and reserved, but they're cheaper even than on-demand instances. And they can be interrupted. You can use them on a test environment where you are not needed to, you're not running production critical load. So in this case, that appears to be the perfect answer. Reserved instances, again, for the similar reason that we ruled out dedicated instances, the cost is high. You need reserved instances when you have longer term commitment, and for that commitment you may want to do a trade-off on the cost. But in this case, it's an exam tip essentially, that whenever you see interruptible load, a testing environment, you can close your eyes and pick up the answer as spot instances. Whenever you have been asked to physical isolation of the servers, most of the cases answer is dedicated instances. Obviously cost is high, but the prime requirement becomes the dedicated physical isolation of the load. Reserved instances is the trigger word you can see is when the problem says that minimum period for which the instances needs to be reserved or continuously used. On-demand instances is economical scenario where you have a production load, you need to have a continuous run, but again, there's no requirement for physical isolation or reserving the instances for a longer period. I think in that all scenario, on-demand instance becomes the most default and cost-effective option. So answer C for question 24. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 25, a company is using Amazon DynamoDB. Which task is company's responsibility according to the AWS shared responsibility model? Please read the question, highlight a keyword. I hope you read the question and highlighted the keywords. Let's see what we have here. So essentially, this is a question on shared responsibility model. And the question asks, in the context of Amazon DynamoDB, which task is company's responsibility? Infra management is AWS responsibility completely. So anything that is to do with infrastructure, underlying infrastructure, will be AWS, and anything then from these options, which is related to application itself, would be the company. Now let's go through these options one by one. The first option, patching of operating system. Now this is basically managing the infrastructure. This will be part of AWS's responsibility. So that's not company responsibility. That's a wrong answer from my perspective. Provisioning of hosts, it's a managed service. So it's a responsibility of AWS again. If it was EC2, maybe different, but not in this case. C, managing database access permission. Now this one is not AWS responsibility. The customers will have to then, the DBAs of at the customers or the operational staff will then manage, who has access to the database, which application or which users have application access to these databases. So this one is definitely a responsibility that clients or company has to manage. So this appears to be correct answer to me. But yeah, let's look at the next one as well. Securing the operating system. Again, this is essentially protecting the underlying infrastructure, and this will be an AWS responsibility according to me. So correct answer of this question is option C, which is managing the database access permission. Now, this question you will get in a different way. This time it's being asked for DynamoDB, but typically it could be asked with any service, but you just need responsibilities, activities within the cloud would be responsibility of the customers, and anything that needs management of the cloud underlying infrastructure and of the cloud overall, that's AWS responsibility. I do have a table that basically just helps you understand this a bit more in detail. Infrastructure, AWS has to secure the DynamoDB service, customer has to secure the operating system and application. Data-wise, AWS has to protect the data at rest and in transit. Customer has to manage the access to DynamoDB data, tables and data, and that's what our answer was. In case of identity and access management, AWS provides the roles and policies, and customers will use IAM roles and policies to control access to DynamoDBs and assignment for users, etc., which is kind of second row in customer column. All right, that was this question. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 26. To reduce cost, a company is planning to migrate to a NoSQL database to AWS. Which AWS service is fully managed and can automatically scale throughput capacity to meet the database workload demands? I would say you guys read the question again, highlight your keywords, and then we'll come back to this. All right, so I've highlighted my keywords. Essentially, we're talking about a NoSQL database that can automatically scale. In this case, exam tip, the moment you see NoSQL, if you have gone through the databases, AWS databases, and read through the purpose of each of the database, then you would understand the answer will be DynamoDB. But yeah, we'll go through each and every option and see if we are right or wrong. So the first one is Amazon Redshift. It's a managed database warehouse service, and it's relational. So that's not a NoSQL database, and it's not a database that you can use for your normal usage. It's a data warehouse service. So that's incorrect. Option. Amazon Aurora, it's a relational database service. Again, it's not a NoSQL database, so that's wrong as well. And what we have here is an Amazon DynamoDB. It's a NoSQL database service, and we know as well that it automatically scales. So that's the second requirement. So this is the correct answer for me. Last one. Again, it's a relational database service. It's not a NoSQL database service. So it's pretty clear. A very simple question. NoSQL implies DynamoDB. I do have a piece of AWS documentation, and you can find the link in the description as later on, which lists the AWS database services, relational key value, which is the NoSQL one. And you could see in relational, you have Aurora, RDS, Redshift. And in case of NoSQL, Amazon DynamoDB is the one which is database, which is the NoSQL one. So yeah, that's the answer for us. Answer C for question number 26. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 27. Which AWS service is always provided at no charge? Amazon S3. Now we know S3 is not always free. There will be a free tier, I think up to 5 GB. But then beyond that, you have to pay for the S3 usage. And if you go to S3 documentation, and I'll provide the links in the description later, you would see there are after a certain limit, you have to pay for S3 services. Identity and access management. Now, this is something that comes free. So because this is a critical service that will enable you to manage AWS resources, it will be always free, regardless of levels of usage. This is essentially the carpet which kind of puts everything together and secure. So IAM in itself is not a resource, or it uses IAM helps you to manage the rest of the resources in a secure way. So that's the correct answer according to me. So S3 is not the correct answer. Elastic load balancers also not correct, because you can get a free tier. I think you get a free tier up to 750 hours of usage per month, but when you exceed that, elastic load balancers are not going to be free. You have to pay for it. AWS WAF, the firewall. This one also has a free tier, and I think it's up to. This is based on the rules and the number of web requests. So 5,000 rules and 1 million web requests are free per month. Beyond that, you'll have to pay for the service. And essentially, the whole strategy that AWS does is they want you to use the services. So the initial usage in most of the services will be free. But then after a certain limit where you have put the infrastructure, you got your website running, you processing the transaction, you will tend to exceed that. And then once you exceed the limits in each of the services, you will pay at the rate based on what tier usage you are doing. And that's how AWS balances the trade-off of incentivizing users to come to their infrastructure because the initial bits are free, but then when they're settled and their usage increase, even users won't move from AWS because of the that there is a cost, but at the same time AWS will earn the revenue because now the number of transaction or the usage has become high. So I think it works. It's a win-win situation for both clients and AWS. Yeah, what's the exemptive for this? Yeah, you need to just refer to AWS documentation for each of these services, and you would find pricing information for S3, Elastic Load Balancers, AWS Firewall, WAF, but you won't see any cost for identity and access management. So yeah, the answer for this question is answer B. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 28, which AWS service is a cloud security posture management service that aggregates alerts from various AWS services and partner products in a standardized format? Please read through the question if this is a specific area of knowledge and highlight your keywords. Hope you have read the question, highlighted the keywords. So what do we have here as keyword? So essentially we are looking for a CSP, posture management service, security posture management service, which can aggregate alerts. Let's go through the option one by one and see which is the correct answer. So the first one, Security Hub, it is a security posture management service that aggregates security alerts. So essentially, this is bullseye. This is a service we need. That's the correct answer. But yeah, let's go through the other options as well. Trusted Advisor, it provides recommendations for improving security reliability of your AWS deployment. So it's a recommendation engine effectively, but it doesn't provide any aggregation of security alerts. Event Bridge, so that's incorrect answer for me. Event Bridge, again, this one doesn't do any aggregation of alerts. It is essentially a serverless event streaming service that enables you to react to events from a variety of sources, but it doesn't do aggregation of security alerts. So that's not a correct answer. Guard Duty, it's a threat detection service that monitors your AWS accounts and workloads for a sign of any malicious activity. So it's a monitoring service. It does not do aggregation of security alerts. So the correct answer in this case is option A, AWS Security Hub. That service is made for this specific use case, and I'll show you some documentation around it, which kind of explains how this is done. I won't go through in the details of exact details of how it is done, but yeah, you'll find the link for this particular AWS documentation in the video description. And if you see in this particular the second section, it does tell you the use cases. It's a cloud security posture management service, and it also correlates your security findings and discovers new insight. So that's the answer for this question. Question number 28, answer A, AWS Security Hub. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 29, a company is developing an application that uses multiple AWS services. The application needs to use temporary limit privilege credentials for authentication with other AWS APIs. So what feature we can use? You can pause the video, read the question carefully again, mark your keywords, maybe look for what should be the correct answer as well. I hope you have read the question, marked your keyword. So the keyword here is we need something that's temporary and limited privilege credentials for providing access. Now let's go through each of the options and see what's the correct answer. Amazon API Gateway, it enables you to create, publish, maintain, and monitor APIs at scale. It is not going to provide you a temporary or limited privilege credentials mechanism. So according to me, that's not correct. IAM user, again, this is a long-term solution. Basically, if you create IAM users, it's not temporary, and it can be a security risk. So according to me, that's also not a correct answer. The third one, security token service. So this appears to be correct. It's temporary. It is limited privilege credentials, and you can securely delegate access with these. We'll go through this in a bit more detail in the documentation, but this appears to be the right answer to me. The next one is instance profiles. It enables you to create and publish and maintain and monitor APIs at scale. Now, this one again is not temporary or does not provide you a temporary or limited privilege credential mechanism to control the access. So that's not a correct answer as well. And if you go through the this particular link, which I'll provide in the video description, you'll find out that if you have to do temporary security credentials, security token service is the way to go. So the correct answer for question number 29 is answer C, option C. That's the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. Last question of this episode, question number 30. Which of the following is a software development framework that company can use to define cloud resources as a code and provision the resources through AWS CloudFormation? Now, yeah, read through the question and highlight your keywords. You can pause the video if you like. I hope you have read the question and highlighted the keyword. So the keywords is we need to code and provision the resources through CloudFormation. Now let's go through the option one by one. AWS CLI, option A. So AWS CLI is a command line tool that can be used to interact with the AWS services. It doesn't provide you a way of providing, coding and provisioning the resources using CloudFormation. So that's wrong for me. Option B, AWS Development Center. Now, if you, and I'll put the links in the video description later on, but essentially this is a website. It's just informative documentation. You can go through it. It's for developers, so it's a reference website. It's a reference for documentation. It's not a code or provisioning tool with AWS CloudFormation. So wrong. That's a wrong answer. Option C, AWS CDK, Cloud Development Kit. This one appears to be the correct answer for me. Option C, AWS Cloud Development Kit. Now, this one appears to be correct. So what is AWS Cloud Development Kit? It's an open source SDK framework, software development framework that allows developers to define cloud resources in code and provision them through CloudFormation. That's what the question is asking for. A CDK provides a high-level and object-oriented abstraction for defining AWS services and making it easier for developers to write and maintain infrastructure code. So that's the use case here, and that's the correct answer according to me. And I'll point you to the AWS documentation for this. You just need to know this. There's not much logic. The last one, AWS CodeStar, it's a suite of tools that helps developers to build, deploy, and manage applications. So it is for developers. It's not like option A and B, which is totally wrong. But yeah, it's not exactly what the question asks. So it does provide some tools for managing application, but it's not for the specific use case of coding and provisioning the resources through AWS CloudFormation. So that is incorrect. The correct answer for this question is then answer C, AWS Cloud Development Kit. And I'll show you the documentation for this, for SDK, AWS Cloud Development Kit, and you'll find the link for this particular documentation in the video description, which you can go through it and see exactly how this works. So that's the last question of this episode. So that brings us to the end of this episode. That brings us to the end of this episode. I'll see you in the next episode of this series soon. If you enjoyed this content and want to stay updated on future episodes, then please subscribe to this channel. Your support motivates me to continue producing high quality content in this area. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next episode of this series.